After a couple of years of struggling with a little bit of extra sadness in my life, quite a lot of overwhelm, a transition from mom of 4 kids to working closer to an empty nester. I have 2 grown and gone. And yeah, even a little bit of anxiety. After working on it for a few months, I have finally found some peace in my heart and in my life by quitting 7 habits that were making absolutely everything worse. So join me as I talk about my journey, and maybe letting go of one of these bad habits could help you out as well. Number 1, excessive online and social media use. My friends, I would open up my phone and start scrolling, and then before I knew it, 45 minutes had gone by, and I told myself that I was just doing research for my job, which is this right here. Listen, scrolling is my cardio, okay? It was just staying informed, and as it turns out, I was just professionally scrolling. At the beginning, it felt completely harmless, but over time, I noticed that I was always comparing my life to highlight reels, what other people were doing, what other creators were doing, especially because I do my work online, and so I see someone else with a better camera setup, better editing, better mics, better thumbnails, better pictures. And I was sitting here on my couch wondering why I was working so hard and always feeling a little bit like I was failing. In addition, social media also slowly trained my brain to need constant stimulation. Quiet moments felt pretty uncomfortable. Waiting in any lines at all, like waiting to mail Christmas packages at the UPS store, unbearable without looking at my phone. Even resting didn't really feel restful because my mind was always racing, which will lead into a different habit later, but it created this really challenging, hard to fall asleep situation that I have finally found some tips to fix. Sometimes at the end of the day, I would open social media to relax, and then I would finish scrolling with 3 new insecurities that I didn't know I had before. I didn't realize how addicted I was until I stepped away from it completely. I went drastic, friends. I went cold turkey. In February of this year, of 2025, I took all social media apps off of my phone. All of them, every single one, even the ones I used for business. And you may have noticed if you follow me on Instagram, guess what? I'm not posting. And in the first week, it was really bizarre because I would reach for my phone habitually, flip it open, and realize there was nothing to look at. I did it so often during the day, but with nothing to look at, it really impressed me how much of it I was doing without even thinking about. I would do it in conversations with my kids and my husband. I would reach for my phone and open it in the middle of a conversation. Like, what is happening? Now that it's been almost a year of no social media on my phone, this is what I can say about it. I feel a whole lot better. I feel more peace. I feel more inspiration. I feel calmer. I can go to sleep at night. I started enjoying the real moments instead of feeling like I had to document all of them. We just did a holiday party and I didn't pull out my phone one time. I didn't take one picture. Whereas in the past, I had this pressure that like everything needed to be content and I had to document everything to show to everybody why. I'm not even sure why. Like, how did we get here? I just stopped all that and just lived in the moment instead. I am not anti-social media, as it were. I mean, I'm making a YouTube video right now. You're watching it on YouTube. And I still really enjoy long form content. I just don't let social media use me anymore. So if this sounds at all like you and you want to make these changes in your life, you can start small by turning on the airplane mode on your phone. It doesn't open anything if it's on airplane. It's really powerful, and your brain is going to find things to fill it because of the absence of the dopamine hits that you are used to. So you're gonna need a plan, a book, a podcast, music, or you could just try deleting all of them for like 2 weeks and see what happens. This one change has probably been the most powerful one that I have done in my life in the last 10 months or so. I highly recommend. Neglecting my physical health. Before, I talked about having a hard time sleeping, and it led down this chain of events where I couldn't go to sleep at night, but I did have to get up and live my life. But I was so tired that I'm like mainlining caffeine. And because I'm so tired and hyped up on caffeine, that I didn't work out as much as I would like to. And then I started skipping meals because I felt sick from lack of sleep, lethargic from lack of workouts, combined with a little agitated from too much caffeine. So I kind of stopped eating. If you notice that I had lost weight about a year ago, about 15 pounds or so, I basically wasn't eating. I don't recommend this plan. This neglecting your physical health in all of its capacity, not not good life goals, okay? So I have been working throughout all of 2025 to get all of these back. And for me, it started with sleep. So I started listening to meditation stuff at night. I cut the caffeine consumption and cut it off at about noon, so I had enough time for it to like leave my system. But I started listening to meditation, like sleep meditation classes and music to fall asleep. They are wildly effective, by the way. If you've not tried that, they're pretty powerful. I have really been enjoying those. And because I was sleeping more, I started working out more. So I was feeling better from the sleeping. I had less caffeine. I started working out more, which meant I was hungrier. Something that I used to help me make sure I wasn't skipping meals because I felt so crazy, but still getting all of the nutrition I need, is I would use some cheat shortcuts. And so I'm super happy to have Factor sponsor today's video. And before you run away, not only do they have awesome deals, but when you are really trying to focus on getting your life back together and focus on your health and do really delicious meals on sale, like with my coupon code today, you kind of can't go wrong. So let me tell you about Factor real quick. Factor delivers fresh, never frozen, chef crafted and dietitian approved meals straight to your doorstep, ready to eat in just 2 minutes. They are designed to support your wellness journey, so Factor helps you to eliminate stress around cooking, planning, cleanup, so you can stay focused on your goals. And mine was eating to start with, and eating healthier to support all of my working out. I personally love that most of the meals deliver 30 grams of complete protein or more, some of the meals up to 53 grams of protein. Now, before they reached out for the sponsor, I've tried Factor myself. I wanna try the meal kits and I wanna know how they are, and Factor's always been one of my favorites. I always thought they were the most delicious, the most convenient. You have someone that works and needs to take a lunch, but they have a microwave. They have over 100 rotating weekly options, from meals to salads. They've got breakfasts and shakes and all kinds of stuff. And they are also offering double seafood and double protein options compared to last year. Two biggest reasons I'm telling you about Factor right now is because it's delicious and because you are also going to get 50% off your first box. Yeah, that's right. You're gonna get 50% off. Here's how you do it. Head to factor75.com or click the first link in the doobly-doo below and use the code FrugalFitMomFB50 to get 50% off of your first Factor box plus free breakfast for a year. That is code FrugalFitMomFB50, first link below, to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 365 days. Huge thanks to Factor for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to more habits I let go of. Negative self-talk. For a long time, the most toxic voice in my life was inside of my own head. I talked to myself in my head in ways that I would never, ever talk to a real person in my life. My daughter, I would never say those words to her. My husband, not a chance. My best friend, I would never ever be so mean. And mine were definitely circled around comparing myself to other people, and especially when I was doing something that was very physically challenging, mountain biking, because I like to set big, hairy, audacious goals. And sometimes I fail at them. And so I would kind of beat myself up for failing. The scary part about how badly I was talking to myself is I didn't realize how normal it felt. So negative self-talk for me showed up small at first, like second guessing myself, downplaying my wins, replaying conversations that I wasn't maybe really happy with, or convincing myself that I was behind or failing. Over time, that voice shaped how I showed up in my life. I took fewer risks, I stayed quiet when I should have spoken up, and I settled for less because I did not believe that I deserved more. The change here did not happen overnight. I want to tell you about something that changed my perspective on this completely. Number one, I started keeping a journal. I'm a horrible journal person, okay? I hate writing. I'd rather just talk all day long. But I started keeping a journal. And it's not a traditional journal. It was quick thoughts. At first, it was negative things I wrote down. And then I would change the sentences to give myself a little bit of grace and compassion. And the thing that kicked this off the most was actually a documentary I watched of this guy. There is a trail in Moab, Utah called the Whole Enchilada. It is world famous. People from all over the world go here to do this epic 30+ mile downhill, very technical in some sections, downhill course. I stumbled across this documentary where this crazy guy decided to ride his mountain bike up the whole enchilada. I will link the documentary below so you can go check it out. But the most amazing thing for me, there were 3 sections of the uphill that were incredibly challenging. And he would attempt the same skill and fail 100 times, which is very taxing on the body and very taxing mentally. But his wife kept the camera rolling and I heard the way that he talked to himself. And it was not the way I was talking to myself, even though objectively he had failed much more than I had. And he would say things like, "You've got this, execute. This is how we're gonna do it. No big deal. You've done this before. All I need is one. I'm just gonna take a break now." I never heard him talk to himself in a negative way. So I took out that journal and I wrote down every positive thing he said to himself, and I started there. Watching and taking note of the things he said in that documentary were monumental in shifting how I spoke to myself because I wanted to model what he was doing. I have one mountain biking goal, which I tried all summer and I could never do it. I'm trying to climb this really challenging black mountain bike trail. A black is like the hardest one. The most challenging section of the ride is a really rocky combined with like loose gravelly dirt at about a 15% grade. Every time I tried this year and failed for whatever reason, power, fitness, technique, I don't know, I just give myself a pat on the back for trying it. Just because I can't do it doesn't mean I can't do it ever. It just means I can't do it today. So I'm really happy to say I've not been talking to myself as badly as I was a year ago. Procrastination and avoidance. I always made the joke that I was #lazy, and as it turns out, I wasn't. I was just avoiding things or procrastinating them, or wait, is that actually lazy? Maybe. But because of these previous bad habits that I've been discussing so far, I got to a really weird place where I started to avoid everything, pretty much. People, things I used to like, food, sleep, making my bed, doing the dishes, taking a shower every day in some cases. I would basically avoid every task that was overwhelming, uncomfortable, scary. So instead of like starting to clean or reorganize or declutter, I would sit down and scroll. So you could see that I was not very productive. I did not get much done, and which kind of fed into my negative state of mind at the time. The problem with procrastination in itself is not only is it lost time, but it's also like mental weight, like weighing you down. So these tasks I wasn't doing would weigh on my brain, making my day feel heavier and harder, even though I wasn't actually doing anything. So to change that, instead of like, how can I finish this or how can I do this big chore, instead I would pick the easiest thing possible. Like, what can I do in 1 minute? I can load all the cups into the dishwasher, throw in a soap, and hit start. Fine. I can take a shower. Here's a weird thing about showers is like, I had to talk myself into getting into the shower, but once I'm in the shower, I live there. Once I'm in, I don't leave. The shower is like my favorite place to sit on the floor. Yes, sit on the floor in the shower and like just meditate. I just let the noise of the water and the heat and the steam like wash over my senses, and it feels like it cleanses everything, my brain, my thoughts, and then I smell a lot better when I get out. Also, I can pay 1 bill, I can answer 1 email, I can respond to 1 text. I started really, really, really small. And then once I stopped avoiding everything, my anxiety levels started to diminish. I was more in control, I was more capable. Procrastination was not protecting me, it was just keeping me stuck. Spending without intention. Now, I'm not a big spender in general. I mean, I am the frugal, fit mom. I love to save money. I love to get a bargain, but in the depths of my bad habits, I only had a couple of things that made me feel really, really happy. And one of them was a McDonald's Diet Coke. I didn't get one every day, but I did get one a couple times a week. They're about $1.30, and I get it with no ice because it comes out cold and you get more drink per drink if you don't put ice in it, and it's more concentrated. So you get like a bigger like punch of flavor, you know what I'm saying? It was always my reward. It was my reward for like cleaning something that day. McDonald's Diet Coke reward. I had a hard day. McDonald's Diet Coke as a reward. Why not? I deserve a little treat. McDonald's Diet Coke. And it's not a ton added up over time. Like, I'm at less than $5 a week, to be honest. And at the end of the day, those little purchases don't fix stress. For me, it was reinforcing all of my negative habits that I had at the time. I didn't do anything today, so I'm gonna get myself a treat. It's a slippery scale when you do, it's only $1. I'll run to the Dollar Tree and get a couple of things, and I'll just buy this like shirt or these shoes. That's only a couple of dollars. And you get used to the fast swipe and the fast swipe, and then you lead down this path where it's like death by 1,000 cuts. You look at your bank statement at the end of the month and you're like, whoa, how did I spend $100 on, I don't even know what, McDonald's cups? Is that what we're doing? Once you start losing control over those quick swipes because it's only $1, that's when you lose control and things can get out of hand very quickly. So instead, what I did is paid more attention on my savings. Like, are all of my savings on track? I have 2 kids in college, so like, how's the college spending going? So I was still kind of focusing on the money, but in a different way that's more helpful to more people. Just to be clear, spending with intention does not mean depriving myself. I still get a McDonald's Diet Coke. I just get one once a week instead of 3 or 4. Overconsumption, but not in the way that you think. Not when it comes to buying stuff. Mine was on information. I was pretty crippled with decision making and leaving the house and talking to people and doing things like sleeping or exercise or eating or anything. I would go on the computer and I would try to get information on any topic at all. Maybe the more information I consumed, the better off I would be. Podcasts, documentaries, watching videos, online forums. At some point, the gathering of information became content consumption overload. The problem is that I was not applying anything I was consuming. I was collecting ideas, but doing nothing different. So I'm not saying consuming information is wrong. It isn't. But consuming for the sake of consuming and not changing any action or behavior, what are we doing there? And that was my biggest problem. I realized I was using information as a form of productivity. Like, if I was learning, I was making progress. But constantly consuming left me overwhelmed, distracted, and pretty much unsure of what to do next, except for research the next topic. So I stopped trying to know everything. It's probably a losing battle anyway, right? And instead focused on small actions, as I've been talking about earlier in this video: working out, trying to meditate, taking a shower, doing a load of laundry. I learned that growth does not come from consuming more, it comes from acting on less. Too much stuff. It's often been said that the state of your home is a reflection of the state of your mind. And in my case, a cluttered home creates a cluttered mind and vice versa. So I can look at the clutter on the kitchen table and not know what to do with it and not really want to do the paperwork. But at the same time, the clutter on the kitchen table is creating me stress and making me worried, trying to figure out where to start, where to go first. If you've watched my videos at all, you've known that I've been slowly decluttering my house over the last couple of years. So like, how could I still have more things to declutter? And that's because I have people that live here. My college daughter is like in and then out and then in and then out. She's moving back in for the Christmas break and she brought like 15 million boxes with her. I didn't even know she owned that many clothes, and yet they are all over my basement floor. So I tried to tell myself that like the clutter doesn't bother me, because that doesn't help anybody if I'm like always mad about the clutter, right? But every pile, every overwhelming drawer, every like I'll deal with this later item was adding to my mental load. The space felt busy and my mind felt busy. My biggest issue is I didn't know where to put things. And I know all of the hints. They're like, oh, well, you would put it in the place where you would look for it. And my issue is I don't know where I would look for it because I don't want it, but I have to keep it because someone bought it to use for something. And I'm also like out of sight, out of mind. So if I have like a really important bill or something I need to do, but I put it away, I will forget, like 100% will forget. So I started really small. I did one drawer, one shelf. I even did my spice cabinet. I didn't even do my whole spice cabinet. I just did one shelf, and I was like, anything that's expired goes. Anything I've had for 3 or 4 years, I clearly haven't used these spices in 3 or 4 years, they go. I did the junk drawer just this week. I found restaurant coupons from like 6 years ago. That's embarrassing. Do you know how many pens that had dried up, the markers that didn't work that I threw away? I'm holding on to garbage. I started watching the Space Maker Method on YouTube. If you haven't watched April at all, she is one of the most kind declutter coaches I've ever seen. I was obsessed over her series in this tiny little New York City apartment, and I learned a lot from her. So she's doing this series right now, this lovely woman named Roberta. Roberta had kept tea from like 20 years ago or whatever. And Roberta said something: I deserve fresh tea. And that made it okay for her to get rid of all this stuff, even though she loved it and like she had all these memories and like what a waste, you know, we say that too. And I was saying that to myself, I deserve fresh pens. Okay, I deserve a fresh bottle of Italian seasoning. So as my space became lighter over time, so did I. I could breathe easier. I felt better in my own home. I would look around and feel peace instead of irritation that there was stuff everywhere. And for me, it's not about having a perfect house. I'm not a minimalist. I never will be. And even now, like clutter comes into the house every day. But because there's less of it, it is easier to put back into place. It just takes a couple of minutes and I feel a lot less stressed because of it. If any of these bad habits feel familiar to you in any way, you are not alone. And also know that you do not have to change everything all at once. I sure didn't. Start with one, pick one that you think will make the most difference. Any forward progress at all, no matter how slow, is a win as far as I'm concerned. Now remember, I started this process back in February, so it has taken me about 10 months to get to a point where I feel like I have my life back. I feel a lot more like myself. And if you wanna make changes in your life, you can do it too, I promise. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you wanna catch that 50% off deal with Factor, it's the first link in the blue below. I love you guys. I'll see you next time. Bye. But wait, there's more. I said that my daughter had moved back home for the holiday break, so like Christmas, New Year's. She's home for about 3 weeks or so. And throughout the college semester, she had worked her way through rewatching Gilmore Girls, start to finish, and she had never seen the revival before. By the way, spoilers, okay? She kept calling me. She's like, I finished episode 1 of the revival. What is happening? I finished episode 2 of the revival. I don't understand. She finishes the whole thing, okay? And aside from Emily's a beautiful ending story, which is so satisfying to watch, she's like, what happened? Like the musical, what kind of psychedelic drink mix did I accidentally take? It was very weird. By the way, I'm not a fan of the revival, in case you couldn't tell, but I didn't tell my daughter any of this. I let her make her own decisions. And she was very dissatisfied. She finished it and she's like, I am not feeling good about the revival. And I was like, yeah, you should have to just kind of like pretend it doesn't exist, put it in a little box over here. And she's like, Mom, I need to watch something else. So I'm trying to suggest, I'm like, oh, we could go do a rewatch of Buffy, which is one of my favorites. I was like, we could go do Supernatural. I'm currently watching Felicity. So I'm like in season 2, I'm going really slow. And she's like, I need something really lighthearted. And I was like, well, we just finished How I Met Your Mother for the 10th time. And she's like, no, something else. And I was like, you know what? I've got just the ticket. You've never seen Scrubs, have you? And she's like, no, I don't even know what it is. And I was like, have I got a treat for you? So I used to watch Scrubs with my college roommates back in the day when it was airing live. I actually never finished it. I don't know if it's one you have to finish necessarily, but I pulled it up and I was like, okay, it's a 22-minute like medical comedy, but it's off the wall comedy. So we started and she's dying laughing. It is unhinged. Like it makes no sense. It's completely ridiculous, which is also what makes it great. So friends, if you have not ever seen Scrubs, I'm gonna go ahead and give it the Christine stamp of approval. You're gonna be in for a wild ride. You are welcome.